just, not now, but I just told Ted about, I was going over that paperwork, so just about what you get. Hey, Ben.
Someone has to make that decision.
Well, I have just the budgets printed. Okay. That's enough. Camera.
Are we gonna take these people, or what are the BCTV to us?
I don't know if there's any special order.
We were supposed to start at 6, right? And town clerk is in here.
There's not really many spots that are open.
I could already.
I think you got this
So I've got to look at the change.
No, I'm just saying for this, for the minutes.
It was like 35.
Come back.
The other ones we just gonna have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got some left
I
hand.
know.
Yes.
How do we take it? Any special way to keep the people? She did it this way, but I don't think we have to, right?
No, but I'd go the way she did on the,
You went to another house.
she do an agenda.
Every day.
No, there's no.
Yeah, because you know, dating, groceries.
Make them right like that.
Right, upside down.
Yeah, they do, because these people ring a bell.
No.
Start a tractor and they dump it in a tractor, and they come. We went, there was like 200 here. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We missed the
Yeah.
bell part, filled up like a shit. We're gonna try to go back.
Yeah, Dennis is here. He was gonna get us the,
You don't have to go off here.
I have a triangle at my house.
That was recreation.
Always had
House
the
on the
hole
deck.
on the wrong side. This was like.
No, this has not been paid yet. It's this week's warrant. So I have not.
But I know this guy
Yeah,
is
you
cutting
cut the
it.
paper sometimes.
This guy's probably cutting it with plastic plows. I was just
It
wondering.
was so simple.
Yeah, I don't know. This was basically handed to me as far as this is in this week's warrant, or this is in this week's warrant. It's not reflected on here, so it's going to impact where we currently are plus that.
Yep.
So
Well, maybe I can ask us, one of the selectmen about that, my concerns about them tires.
Dennis,
Not really.
is Ron Rich
Or
coming
what
in?
you want.
We just started.
Did you think of it?
say what it is. I can try to find it.
Yeah, just,
Why don't we
Let me try to get you a copy of this.
well, I don't know
Yeah, we all signed up.
why they just be tires and that.
Yeah, we're excited.
building?
I don't know whether or not they're tires even without looking at the invoice, because even though it's from the tire
Tires,
law,
these
Yeah,
tires,
that's all, yeah, she has.
but whether
so
it
they
counts,
sell the
Yeah.
tires.
that's all it is.
Yeah, it's just, they purchase two different times, they purchase tires.
What is it?
About 10, I think he's right. There's other accounts that should be covered now.
Did you put an agenda?
We're not in any order.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
No.
Rich?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Rod Rich?
I told them,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Oh, Brianna's here, Dennis is here for the
Yeah.
planning board, I take it, right?
Yeah,
Oh, Dennis.
split conservation.
You here for conservation too?
No. Ron's supposed to come in.
Okay, I had told Mary again, so, and he
Yeah.
said he just texted him, so we'll see.
Okay.
We can get started though.
Yeah.
Ready?
Sure.
Building inspectors here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Want to do the minutes and everything?
Yeah. Calling me to order.
Yeah, I'd like to call a meeting to order today. Glad you're all able to get here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the Wednesday, February 14th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Richie, Claire, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
We made a motion for the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a motion, Claire seconded it.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
so we have to get a copy from her.
Don't see no one. Don't see no one. Oh, there's one. But we'll build it.
Okay,
I've gotta find.
Brianna, would you mind coming up and start? Building department?
Which one is it?
Did you need a copy of yours? You all set for I got it, okay.
Okay.
This is the new one, building, regional building inspection services. That's the new name. Good.
Okay.
How does,
Do you wanna go
Yeah.
over any of your,
Yeah.
like your increases? Like I know, the clerk, is that a step increase or is
I think that's a
The-
COLA.
Joe the
Yeah,
COLA?
just COLA.
That's a COLA?
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a question, Brianna.
Yep.
The portion that we show as your salary, that's the portion that the town pays, or is that divided amongst
That's,
the others?
that's divided between everybody.
Okay, thank you.
So what roughly is our share of that, a third, a quarter, a half? Would you ever figure it out?
Unfortunately, I didn't think to bring the breakdown of that. I would say it's probably,
Just roughly,
It's
and hold you
probably
to it.
about half.
Half, okay, thank you.
yeah, so these numbers actually, they're not, I mean, we'll be reimbursed for a portion of that final figure, so that's not actually
That's-
inaccurate.
Yeah, it's broken down by
That's-
hours, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not actually the town's,
You
Yeah,
want me to look it up, Brianna?
that would probably be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be good
no.
if we had
Yeah.
what it's gonna cost us.
Yeah,
Andrew, should it just show what we're paying her?
Well, we fund the whole thing, right?
The agreement shows basically how it's broken down with each town as far as them reimbursing us and what expenses they're reimbursing us for, pretty much, so. I believe
I'm
the
working
agreement,
on it.
the agreement does show that.
Okay, so if they,
So we
we
pay
know
the whole
those
thing up
numbers.
front,
We-
then we get reimbursed throughout the year?
oh,
Yes.
okay,
Okay.
all
Yes.
right, all right,
Yep.
that's fine, that's clear.
but to
Thank-
have those numbers would be good.
Yeah.
To know what they,
I have the numbers without the COLA in it.
Okay.
okay.
So roughly it's, let me give you the hours and then I'll give you the rates and we can calculate
Okay,
it after,
yeah.
if that's okay? Because we don't have the 2% COLA.
Yeah,
Right,
So 26 hours to Barry, 10 hours to Hardwick, 2 hours to New Braintree, and 5 hours to Petersham. And the hourly rate of Brianna, sorry,
With the 2%, it's 32.46.
Ken Hardwick.
and I think it's it's roughly 25 hours to the town.
I had 31.
I'm sure it
It's
varies
20.
from week to
It's-
week
it's
and
probably before
season
COLA.
to season,
Yeah,
but,
it
They
does.
said
Um,
26.
it's-
Yeah,
Oh,
based on
26.
26, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because it
We'll
was
have to just-
31, 21?
Okay. We'll just have to double check that.
Sure.
How is that going? How do you feel? You've been doing that this year, right?
Yeah, we started July 1st, and I think it's working
get the
well. I'm
hourly
getting
rate?
positive feedback from all the towns, and seem to be getting all the work done, no problem. It's working out well.
Glad to hear that.
Clear. It's also 2%.
Hmm?
Plus 2% COLA.
Okay.
How's your inspector assistant working out with you, okay?
Yeah, that's
Still
working out
Gary?
well. Yeah,
Good.
yep. It works out because I live in Hardwick and he lives in Petersham, so we're kind of able to
Yep.
split that.
That's good.
Yeah.
31. Plus the COLA.
Now, I noticed in the training and testing, I think you had requested, if I'm reading it proper, 5,000, and town administrator recommends 1,000. Is there gonna be a problem with that figure, or?
I don't think there will be. What we're gonna have to do, we did adopt a new building code January 1st, so I'm gonna order all those books now. I think it's fine that it decreased. We submitted a level funded budget, but we haven't expended that much. I think the reason why he had such a high number in there is because he was working on his certification.
Uh-huh.
So he was taking extra classes, and I already have all my certifications, so I don't need to
Oh, great.
do that.
And then the one item above it, travel and the maintenance. I see that took quite a cut too,
It
from
was
1,200 to 250.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of like a placeholder number because we aren't really sure how the implementation of Hardwick's car, now, because,
Hardwick got
It's
a car
really
on a
going to-
grant. They
yeah.
got a fully electric vehicle that they're allowing me to use in all the towns. So previously, the car had been provided by the town of Barry, and now it's being provided by the town of Hardwick. So
I
that's
see.
something that we're gonna have to look at in the agreement itself.
Okay,
yeah, that was really just a placeholder number to go, all right, you know, if we're still responsible for maintenance, now we're not really responsible for fuel costs, that might have been included in that, but what's the maintenance cost gonna be now to keep that car up and
Nobody
running?
seems to know what it needs
So-
for maintenance, because it's,
Yeah.
it's fully electric, so
Yeah.
it doesn't need an oil change, but, I mean, we don't really know. We have to
Are you
figure
plugging
it out.
in?
Hardwick is the only town that has a charging
Oh, you
station
do?
right now, so I leave it down
Oh,
there.
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, but Barry, I believe, is putting in for a grant for a charging station for here, so
We're
it'll be
looking-
really helpful.
Yeah,
'Cause
we're looking at it, it's kind of money dependent with the Green Communities grant, because they cap it at 10,000, and, you know, for the whole, that they're willing to give you for it, but it's like 7,500 for just the charging station, so you gotta basically look for how you can get it installed for less than 3,000. That's gonna be the catch. But we're hoping to work with them, hopefully bring that price number down.
how long does that thing go on a charge?
On a warm day like today, when I left the building, it said I had 100 miles. On the real cold days, it only gets about 70 miles. So taking that through 4 towns, I can burn that up real quick.
Well, the FY17 budget was what they expended in their budget, there was money left,
Mhm.
so. I could see that, why you would cut it.
I'm hoping by the next meeting for you guys, I'll have a whole new round of recommendations now that we have better numbers or more real numbers from the school and insurance and stuff like that. I'm sure that'll
Yeah.
affect things.
And you just added cell phones in this year?
No, that's
Nope.
always been in there.
Yeah, that's always been in there.
Yep.
How come it doesn't show, it shows 0 all along that, supplies, service, and communication?
I'm not sure, because that's always been in there.
See how it says 0
Yeah, I
all
do
across?
see that.
Yeah.
Is that something a change you made?
Yeah, that's in my line.
Yeah, that's a change.
I think that might have offset from some of the travel SUV maintenance, rather than dropping the total budget down. We moved some money into that line. Because I believe that there is a cell phone portion of that agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the town funded cell phone, so that was more to fund more realistic costs.
Okay,
How many cell phones?
so other
have-
years it was in the other, on the, just the
Right, it
expenses?
would have just been in expenses, we just
Okay.
broke that out as its
Mhm.
own separate line.
Okay.
How many people have cell phones?
I have one and Bob has one.
That's it.
Yeah. I know Andrea has one, but I don't know if that might be Board of Health.
No, I think that's for that, and I think the wiring inspector,
Oh,
Daryl has one too.
Okay.
So we get 4 phones for $720 a year.
Yeah.
I don't have any more
Any
questions.
other questions?
No, not at this time, no.
Any big surprises coming this year that you know?
Not that I know of.
Thank you, that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much,
You're
Brianna.
welcome.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
Want to do the council on aging
Oh,
or not?
Do you want to do the conservation and get that out of there?
Oh, sure, we could do that.
It shouldn't be very long.
Ron is here?
Yep. Sitting back there.
Oh. Ron, you have a moment here? I think last meeting we had, we were kind of going over what was going to happen, and I guess you were looking at a busier year this year. I was wondering if you could just kind of go over that for us.
I don't have a conservation.
You're increasing
I might have forgot to print
the
that.
hours
Sorry.
for
I'd
your
like to
clerk?
increase
You have
the
it from the
hours.
last meeting?
Can we go by the other one?
1 or 2 hours.
I
We're
forgot
getting
to-
busier with permits and notice of intents. And it's a lot of paperwork. And we're thinking that we're gonna get more building permits as well.
That sounds
It would be
good.
from your last week's packet. I
Yeah.
didn't include it in this one. I apologize. Look back to your packet from last
Yeah,
meeting.
do you have?
Yep,
How about the original one we got? Am I off base with this one?
It should be the same.
Okay,
no,
thank
I think
you.
it's the
Yeah.
same. Yep, it's the same.
So that was when we went
The
to
increase.
2 hours, right?
Yeah,
So you really only have 2, just the clerk and her salaries and your expenses, correct, Ron?
Yes.
And I see here your expenses have been cut, or recommended to be cut $500, roughly in half.
Mhm.
You think that you can live with that, or
Probably not.
probably not?
I tried to get an increase the last 2 years. If you remember, for a camera,
Yeah, I remember a camera, that.
and every time I've gone to town meeting, the money's been taken away.
I think we funded the camera last year,
Yeah.
did we not?
No, never happened.
how come there's nothing under?
So you still don't have a camera, you're using your
No,
own
I,
stuff?
Mr. Fleming has been gracious enough to let us use the planning
That's what it
boards.
said
Oh, yeah?
in the
So
budget
that's what
report
we've
that I
been
was
doing.
given when I created this.
Well, that's, why, on the sheets that we've got here, Ron, it says in FY 17, you didn't use the expense account. It was 0.
There's something wrong with that.
That's the one that was printed from the treasurer's, had a 0 line.
Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that my dues for MACC are $250 per year. And if anyone goes to the MACC conference, it's $125 a piece. So I'm already at, this year, I'm going to the conference. Last year, somebody else had gone. So I know I'm already at 375 of my expense.
Right. And what else do you have to pay for out of that, Ron? Out of your expenses? Just-
Well,
Or what's happened in the past, or whatever, just a...
what's happened in the past is usually we just use it for office supplies or whatever we need to facilitate, you know, the paperwork and everything. But We're also allowed mileage if we wanted to. I never put in for any mileage, and the other commissioners don't either. So, I mean, we could use that all up if we put in mileage.
Could
So,
you-
right now, so you guys are getting a camera lent to you by somebody else. You're not getting reimbursed for your mileage in your own vehicles when you, and I take it you take them all the time to do any kind of inspections or
Absolutely.
complaints or anything?
Yeah.
Could we
No.
get an explanation, Andrew, why it says 0 for 2017?
Let me, I looked to see the
I
most
just-
recent.
I just pulled up the expense report from June 9th of 2017, and there was 0 expended out of a $1,000 expense line.
Yeah. That's something that's gotta be looked into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Is it
there's
being funded?
expenses in there.
I mean, that doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah,
You didn't
but-
spend a penny all year.
You'd
What
have
I'm
to
wondering
ask
is-
Mary Ann where she's requested the money come out of.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a wetlands account?
Yes.
Is the money being coming out of there?
We don't, well, the account is, we keep a record of it,
Mhm.
but it's only used for anything to do with wetlands issues.
And where does that money come from?
It comes from the town.
How come it's not listed on your budget?
It's a special
Well,
revenue account.
That's a different account. That's an account that is kept by the commission per order of the state.
Yeah, I understand that, but it has to be shown somewhere.
Yeah,
Where is
it
that
should show
accountant?
Well,
somewhere on
It's a
there.
special revenue account, so it's not, it's pretty much kind of like the, police administrative salaries account. A lot of the ones that,
Like
are under
revolving accounts?
53E and a half, the revolving accounts aren't shown in the general fund budget because they don't come in as general
Okay.
revenues.
So
So
is
that
it
wouldn't,
one of
that
those
wouldn't show
accounts?
in this account, or that wouldn't show in your fiscal budget.
And what do we,
Is that where it is?
how much do we put into that account a
The
year?
town does not put any
We
money
don't put
in
anything
that.
into it.
Nothing.
It's all generated through fees that are created from
Should
our
show somewhere.
our filings.
Yeah, you'd have
I
to
should-
request
with
a
the
special
DEP
copy of
and with-
that.
It's not listed in those
Private
revolving
individuals
accounts?
Filing for notice of intents
No.
for
Right.
request for
No.
determination.
It's not a
So
revolving
when you do
account.
that with
No.
a private entity, Ron, you tell them, okay, a notice of intent is $100. They take that $100 and that in turn is put into this account?
Yes.
I see.
And we have kept an itemized list of the account. We know what's supposed to be in there, but it's never been certified since I've been with the Conservation Commission.
Really?
Yes.
Shouldn't it be?
I think that should have been certified every year.
Yeah, yeah.
How would
No,
it
we've
balance?
we've asked it to be, and it's never, it hasn't happened yet.
Is it the state that certifies it, or our treasurer?
No.
Our treasurer?
Maybe we should
Treasurer and accountant.
ask Andrew if he can look into it with the treasurer to see if
Yeah.
he can help out the conservation and find out what's in that account. What else can you use that for, Ron?
Well, we had to hire a couple of
Consultants.
engineers and consultants because we had some egregious wetlands violations.
Uh-huh.
And, that can be expensive.
Yeah.
And we have one or two that are still going on. So we may have to use the account
Some more.
more than we'd like. We have in place a bylaw that says that if they agree to it, they have to bear the costs of some of these consultants, but we haven't been able to enforce it all the time. People don't want to pay.
And you still need to get it done,
Exactly.
so you need the money to do it with.
Right.
Correct.
We've got another one going on right now. We're gonna ask for help from it because it's a lot of filings that have piled up over about 20 years that we need to close out. And it may entail quite a bit of money.
The same case, the same issue?
Yeah.
And it takes that long to resolve the issue?
Well, what happened was, before I came along, they were doing a lot of notice of intents, and they didn't close them out.
Didn't follow through,
So they piled up,
correct.
they didn't get a certificate of compliance.
I see.
They recently came to us wanting a certificate of compliance, and we're not given a certificate of compliance without hiring an engineer to oversee it.
I see. Well, that must be not too easy on your part to not know what's in an account then, and seeing you're gonna be dealing with consultants and engineers and stuff.
Well, like I said, we keep a tally of it, so I know.
You do?
Yes.
He just needs to get it certified.
Yeah, we've gone round and round with former treasurers before over it. It was within reason, we were pretty close to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, upon my thoughts upon talking with Ron about that deduction in his expenses, these folks are nice enough to take their own vehicles, going and do these inspections and whatever they have to do. You know, they're not charging any mileage. And I remember Ron asking for that camera a while ago. I think to cut that $500, I think I would like to see that $500 put back into his expense account. And Ron, you said that dues for that certification thing or whatever you do there?
The MACC
Yeah.
is $250 a year. So I
That's all
know,
that's been expended so far this year.
huh?
That's all that's been expended to date so far this year.
Yes,
To,
245?
no. 275.
Oh, there might have been something else. But I know that there's another 125 that was sent just recently, so.
I've got signed up for class.
You did, Jenna, so that's 250.
So there's 275 and 250 this year.
Yeah,
You know, and I think that the Conservation Commission, they would not be spending that money irresponsibly. 'Cause,
We need to
as-
know where the money went on 2017 and get
yeah,
that
I'll get it, I'll get it.
wetlands
I'll
account
try to get
straightened
it,
out.
a
before
rundown of
we-
the account. I know we did have a surplus, and I will say that I think the last 10 years, we've had a little bit of a surplus, but, it always goes back to the town anyways.
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should ask Mary Ann where she submitted the request for expense
Find out
for that money out, if
first.
that's where it's gonna come from. Because this is from the accountant, you know, what Claire's referring to and what I'm referring to, so
Yep.
that's what the accountant is showing.
That's what
Yeah.
she's getting
Well, it's a
handed
little
to
Yeah.
her.
puzzling, it's puzzling
Right.
to me as well, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I
So
guess
if
I
we
should have
can-
asked.
If we
So
can
you
find
should
out
ask
where that
Mary
is.
Ann.
Yeah,
You know, and just
I just
advise her
noticed it,
that,
I just noticed it tonight, so.
that those, the expenses, what should be coming out of that and what should be coming out of that wetlands account too, Ron. Yeah, I think, that's my recommendation anyways. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Faye, on Mary Ann's hours,
Mhm.
is this gonna up her to affect her on anything?
How
she
many hours is it
full-time?
requesting?
9. It's going up 2.
It could, I think does she currently work 40? How many does she work for you?
Is she?
She's 22 for me, but when election time comes, it's more.
Yeah, but on a regular, that's what
Yes.
I'm, 22? And she already works 7 for you?
Yes.
Concert, how much for planning?
I think she does 7, 7, and 7. I think she plans for 7, 7, and 7. 7 for zoning, 7 for conservation, and 7 for.
Right, so it's over the 40 then.
So it's over
It's over
40.
40?
It would be.
Okay, so, whatever we need to do, I guess.
Yeah, that would put it over.
Yeah.
She'd be working 43.
So is she working 40 now?
Well, if she's working 22 for Ellen, and she's putting in for 7, 7, and 7, then,
Right,
That's
and the prob-
21.
or however.
And if she covers for my
Okay.
office when I'm out during
Yeah.
that week.
So
it puts
it's,
it
she's over the 40
over.
hours.
Right.
over.
I didn't realize.
So even with
that.
the 7
I don't-
should be
I don't know
over.
what the other,
No,
What's-
I think it's
yeah.
at 40, because
Well, if you got
zoning
20
isn't, there's no way zoning has 7 hours allocated for it. I
Oh.
think,
Well, how much,
like, I'm gonna look it up right now,
it's
You have
got
the
7
budget?
in there right now
I don't know.
for zoning.
like the whole package.
And you do the zoning too, right?
No.
No? Who does that?
Last I knew it was,
Is Josh Smith on that?
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Joshua
This is
Smith.
not zoning. Okay.
But, you know, that 7 for zoning, if that's like a year, that would be a lot.
I don't, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think
they-
it's
You know, because they
7.
really,
yeah, they're not.
So that maybe should be dropped, Andrew,
Zoning?
on the zoning. It's on the
Right.
sheet is 7 hours a week.
Yeah, but, I mean, we don't have zoning here in front of us, so I don't
No.
know what,
But I'm gonna put a question there because it
Sure.
should be reduced if she's over 40 already. If she,
Right,
you know,
if you
why
add
would you
up,
budget more than 40?
if you add up all the 777
Yeah.
and 22,
right.
Yeah, because it was 7 for zoning, and 7 for conservation,
I'm
and
just going by
22
what
for
my,
town.
Yeah.
what my department needs.
And
I don't know
seven
what
for
the other
conservation.
43 hours. So
No, yeah, that's
Right.
true.
So that's 43.
I think it comes down to whether or not this should be budgeted as one department, really. I mean, rather than splitting this up as one person
Yeah.
getting
One
paid out of
municipal
5 different
secretary.
budgets, should it just be the board's budget? I mean,
Right.
other than just, I mean, other than you,
Excluding
Ellen.
Ellen, yeah.
Excluding your hours, but should it just be the board's department with conservation, planning, and zoning expense?
Allow 20 hours.
With an hourly allowance of exactly that
So
many
you're-
hours per week?
So you're saying
So
change it
you
to a
would-
board's
Yeah.
expense, a board's
Right.
admin?
Right, rather than 3 different pages here that just says one
Yeah.
person that's the same person on every page with just an expense line. I think that makes a lot more sense.
now, if you did it that way, Andrew, could, like you're saying that the zoning doesn't use her as much as that 7,
Mhm.
and conservation
Right.
runs into some
So she, they could
overkill,
she
some
could
more
swap.
building permits
Right.
or whatever needed.
She's in that office for X
Yeah.
amount of time rather than saying she's there for 7 hours for this and 7 hours for that, 7 hours for that.
So
It's just,
she's,
So
I'm in this office for 21 hours and I'm handling these 3 boards at that time.
So what I was trying to get at is, she's allocated 777, but some weeks she could work 10 for the conservation and 2 for the other.
That's what I think.
Right.
Right.
That
but she
would-
can't work the 21, that brings it to 43.
Well,
Correct.
Is
So
there
she'd
19.
have to do 18
Is
for
there
the
a cap
3
at
boards.
right.
Well, you pay
Yeah.
overtime.
You pay overtime.
Pay overtime.
Yeah, okay.
That town clerk has
Yeah.
a question.
Yes. Ellen?
I just have a question on that particular subject with the overtime, because I don't know how many hours that she works for her other boards. And if I need the assistant town clerk for elections and during the election seasons for additional hours, it runs into overtime. And it's my understanding that overtime will come out of my budget, because even though she's not over 40 hours for my department, it comes over 40 hours for
Total.
her total pay. So I mean, it does affect my budget as well. It also affects the workflow in my office. So depending on the number, I mean, how many more hours it's gonna be in 1 week, it could affect my budget as well. I just wanna make sure that everyone's clear on that.
So maybe we're putting too many hours on that one, well,
Person.
it's not one position, but
The one person?
one person doing
Yeah.
that.
So if worse comes to worse, the department heads put their heads together and say, you know, we need this, this, and this. Well, it's obvious just from sitting here that Ellen needs the majority of her hours.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the town clerk to have to be paying overtime because
No, it's not.
she's working
No.
7 hours or 9 hours for other,
Right.
you know, which bounces back to
Plus,
Ellen's
I've put
budget.
in for an extra position for the extra hours. Because a lot of time is not always allocated.
So how many more hours would you need from that position?
I put in for another position on my budget for another 12 hours a week.
But if
So-
you could have more hours for the one person you have, how many more hours would you need?
Right.
Instead of a second person?
I would
I guess.
just go to a full-time.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
I think it would make most sense to just go to another full-time person. Why not?
She, what, I don't understand.
If even maybe 2 part-time positions or 1 full-time.
Well, you said 12 hours a week, and she works 22 now, so if you gave her 12 more hours a week,
Then should have a full-time,
Yeah,
should be
Should be
listed as full-time.
34.
yeah, she would be full-time then.
Take-
well, she's full-time benefit
No,
with
but-
22.
Right.
I guess take away the person that we have that
Right.
holds multiple hats.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
you took that person away, I guess the question to Ellen would be, how many hours do you need a person for?
That's what I asked.
Yeah,
yeah.
A full-time person. You can either do 2 part-time people or a full-time
40 hours
assistant.
is full-time?
I would prefer to go with a full-time assistant.
And when you say
I
full-time,
can't
how
do a
many
full-time
hours are you talking when you say
position.
full-time, Ellen?
I'm talking the full-time, what?
40
What are your
hours a
hours
week?
open though? I guess, what are your
It would be
hours?
For the 30, probably the 38 hours a week.
So you would need another person for 38 hours?
That's, well, right now I have the 22 hours for her,
Right.
and I was requesting the 12 hours. If we went to another, a 1-to-1 position, I would say whatever the full-time classification is for that person.
Well, the full-time classification doesn't set an amount of hours. It
No.
sets
Well,
whatever.
I was saying salary because, only because, like, in election time, we could be here 60 hours in a week. I mean, it doesn't, it fluctuates. Early voting, when we do early voting, we're mandated to do it through, Saturdays and Sundays. We have a dog clinic coming up on a Saturday, so, I mean, it runs different hours. So, I don't know, to me, it would make more sense just to have that position, a salaried position, based upon an average of probably 38 hours a week.
But it would be salaries, Ellen. It wouldn't be hourly, correct?
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
is hypothetical, this is what you asked me,
Right,
yes.
Yeah.
That would be my opinion.
right. So what Ellen's saying is, she needs X amount of hours, whether she gets them, today or during the election season, that over the course of the year, those hours will be this much.
Based on, be 35 or 38 hours a week, whatever,
I think the only problem is you don't have any admins that are salary.
This isn't an admin, it's an assistant town clerk.
Right.
It's who
Even-
has the same authority as me in my absence to cover the office. It's not an admin per se, it's a decision-making position where she, it's not your typical admin position. It's the assistant town clerk, based upon state statute and all of the state rules and regulations that are attached to it. So to me, I just feel that it's not your typical admin position. She's not just like a secretary.
Yeah, I think it's classified under the same classification as the admins.
I understand,
That's what I was saying.
but I understand, and I just disagree with that classification.
Yeah. Not to jump around.
Yeah, can we go back to
That's what I was-
conservation?
Sorry,
That's
yeah.
why I didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is the hours. It
Right,
can't
well-
go up,
Well,
and
maybe
it
we
really
better keep it
shouldn't.
the way it is for now.
Yeah.
And then we'll find
And
out
then reduce
I
the,
think we better look into
where
it.
we're at.
Yeah.
He's gonna need help somehow.
yeah.
So somehow,
Right.
from some line, we gotta figure out how to get him help.
Mhm. And get her.
Yeah.
Well, this will have to be hashed out before town meeting, so
Yeah.
Andrew
Yeah.
and Fay, it looks like you guys got a little bit of something to go on here. And you have to reach out to planning board, what they figure their hours, 7 hours, is that sufficient? You guys gonna
They're
ask
gonna
for an
talk to you.
increase?
They're gonna talk,
Well, just right now, you guys are asking for an increase in your secretary too?
Yes, they did it.
I'm sorry.
Are you asking for an increase of hours for your secretary
No.
too, Doug? No?
Well,
Yes, they are, it's in the,
it's
it's in the
going from
budget.
7 to 9.
Oh, so that's an increase.
That was an increase of 200%.
but you can't do that.
Well,
Just found that out.
Yeah.
it sounds like there's some
Okay,
more
so
work to be
as
done
back to
besides-
conservation, we are gonna leave the 7 hours at 7 hours,
Okay.
Yeah.
all right? And even if we leave these all on boards and 3 the same,
I know.
if Ellen gonna be coming up to us, she's gonna want this other position,
Right.
so you're gonna have to do something.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gonna have to, there's gotta be
Right.
somebody else.
right, it's kind of our job to find the money and the funding, but it's not our job to approve a new position.
Right, hours that a person needs,
Exactly.
department head needs.
Correct.
So something's gonna have
So
to be done.
basically, everybody needs somebody else.
Yes.
So something's gotta give.
Yeah.
Gotta have some new person
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Well, that's it for me, Ron.
Okay.
Well, it's good.
But
At least
before we
Got
move
the
on
time
though,
and
so,
get another
just so
one
I
for the
understand it,
others.
we're gonna leave that secretary at 7, and did you come to a decision about what we wanna do with his expenses? Are we gonna cut him $500, or are we gonna remain at 1,000?
we have to leave it the way it is until they find out where the expenses from 2017 went. That he said it's supposed to go against that. Right now, it shows he didn't use anything, so he didn't expend a budget.
But last year,
In
Yeah.
2017.
I'm talking about this year,
Yes, but you can't put it at 1,000
why not?
because we have to see what was expended
She
in
wants to see.
2017.
I understand.
Yeah,
You know
you
what
don't
I'm saying?
have to see what was spent.
It's logical to do that, Richie.
Yes, it is, Claire, I agree with you, but
And
when
we
you have,
don't, Richie, we don't need to finalize these budgets right now.
Yeah, we can revisit them.
You know,
Yeah.
we don't have to.
I will get an
It's a
explanation for
question,
that.
and there's
an
questions to
itemization
be
of-
answered.
of
Thank
the
you,
I
Ron.
expenses.
agree, Rich, I think we need to take a good look at it. I
Yeah.
mean, they gotta have the tools to do the job.
Because I'm.
oh, that's what I'm saying, it
Yeah.
looks like we're cutting them.
I mean, between the classes and the memberships, it's half of that budget
Well,
right there.
you've used 500 already.
Right, and that's what your budget is,
Consulting
500.
fees, all
Yeah.
that.
I
And
think
what-
Andrew did have a good idea though with possibly putting them together, because right now we have an
Yeah.
expense budget
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, expense budget for you, but how much of that expense budget may overlap? May, you know, like they bought a camera last year, could that just be the board's camera?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, say, a printer needed to be purchased. I'm just
Yeah, we
thinking
do,
of,
Yeah.
we
there's a
do.
lot of things that are shared in that board's office
Yes.
as it is, so it may be
Yeah.
a good idea to look at.
For the 3 boards,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rather than saying
Joining-
expenses, if it's going toward consulting fees, it should say consulting fees for.
Right.
Right,
Right,
right.
Yeah.
so it needs to kind of be addressed.
Mhm.
We can
And if we
revisit
know
it.
that, if we know that
Something
$1,000
revisiting.
isn't
Yeah.
going to do anything for consulting fees, why
No,
isn't that? Well,
No,
you know, it's not just, well, you know, we're putting money there to put it there. It needs to actually address something that we know is gonna be a need. So I'm sorry, you know, there's no increases in this budget anywhere,
Right.
so.
so until you maybe come up with something that could be joining
Right,
the 3,
yep.
that would make more sense, I think.
Right.
So I guess we gotta wait, Ron, and see what we can come up with,
Yep.
get some more information.
I will get some information.
Appreciate you coming to the meeting and explaining stuff to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
The next
Sure.
planning board? How does next year look for you folks?
Now that we kind of mess things up,
What?
now that we kind of mess things.
Yeah, well,
The reduction that we have is 50% for planning board consultant to go from 2,000 in fiscal year 18 to 1,000. And the only thing I have to say is that we got some big ticket items coming up now. We've got the recreational marijuana
Oh, yeah.
bylaw that we've got to get done. and we're looking at revisions to the solar regulation as well, and both those need to be done before the town meeting. It's not that we need any planning board consultant help with that, but administrative help for Mary Ann. We'd probably be taking, in any one period of a month, we might be taking more hours than we have allocated. So that's my major concern. Also, I'd like to say the planning board doesn't charge for mileage either. And we let the conservation board use our camera. which we may start charging for.
Times are really getting tough.
As soon as we find out if we can do that.
That's why you kind of need the three work together.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And share.
Exactly.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for Mary Ann, the hours, it shows that going from 7 in FY18 to 9, which probably is
Right.
about right. The other thing we've got, and this is something for after the town meeting for the rest of this year, but there are several of the bylaws in town that haven't, they're 20 years old or 20 years old plus. And we really need to take a look at some of those. They've got some, they need to be updated. We need some revisions. Not everything, but on some of it. And, as I've only been on the board for a couple of years, but we're starting to see that some of these things we need to take another look at. So, and again, that's work the planning board members can do, but we need administrative support.
Okay,
for
sorry.
it.
Right.
Those are just my concerns.
On your general expenses, what comes out of that? What do you pay for with that?
How many is it? 36.
I don't have a breakdown for this number for FY17.
No, not exact. Just give us a rough idea.
There was some attendance at some training sessions that the Citizens Planner Training Cooperative, a couple of people went to that last year, I think. And I think the camera came out of the general expense.
Okay.
But I'm not positive that's what I think.
No, just like last year, I think it was, so that the planning board hired an outside attorney. Where would that come out of?
I don't think that came out of here. I don't know.
How
Should be
is
funded
that?
by the applicant, pretty much.
Excuse me?
All right? The applicant should pretty much fund that.
Well,
No,
this was for litigation.
No,
litigation.
town.
Against the town
Oh,
and
okay.
and the
Okay.
planning board.
right.
I don't know which, I don't think that came out of here, because I think that was quite a
We
bit more
would
money.
use up our $2,000 in our consultant account, and then the rest would have to be funded by whatever other account you have for attorney fees. We have a consultant account and an expense account.
Oh, I
So we would
see.
use up our consulting account first, but anything that goes over, I'm pretty sure they have an account that has money in it for attorney fees, and that's where the rest would come from,
You say they,
General
who's they? The
General
board?
counsel.
General
Yeah.
counsel.
No.
whatever account.
But I think that was overexpended significantly, and I don't know if it was the previous year, or the year
Yes.
before.
Yeah,
You're
I
correct.
think it was.
Yeah.
But that was because of litigation that the
Um,
planning board didn't initiate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it wasn't only that. That wasn't the only other issue we had. Mr. Baird had some time off, so we were paying a different law firm.
Oh, I see what you're
That's
saying.
part of it,
Okay.
yeah. So we were paying a law firm to back up Mr. Baird because he was out with some family.
Ooh.
So we, you
Use
know,
Mr. Brackett.
yeah, we used a different attorney, which had a different price tag.
And then on top of that, I think also, Faye, they used a different attorney they wanted, because Jim Beard was working, both of them were attending meetings. They
Yes.
wanted an
There were some
outside,
times that both
another
of them were.
lawyer's input from it. Dennis, you're on the board, you must, that was what,
Yeah.
Gary Brackett, correct?
Yep, yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to work, but I just wanted to clear up one thing. I only work 36 hours. I do not work 40, because I just happen to be watching you on TV.
36
I was just
hours.
having a cup of tea, and I'm like, oh. I
Well,
don't-
we're just looking at the,
Yeah, so I.
it
What's on
says
the
on the
budget?
request that
Yeah.
the budgets, you've been getting 7 hours a week
Yeah,
for planning,
zoning board,
customers.
the money's only there in case. I actually haven't worked for zoning board in 3 years because we haven't had any issues. So
Okay.
all that money gets turned back every
Yeah.
year. which you would be able to see in probably the town report or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I actually haven't worked for them in 3 years. It's only on a case by case, and we haven't had any zoning issues.
Yeah.
So my vacation and everything is based on 36 hours.
So I guess one
Because
question.
Nancy said it had to be on what you do every week, not like if you do a couple extra hours another week, that doesn't count toward your benefits or anything. So, but I just didn't want you to think I was working 41 or 42 hours when I'm not.
So, do you mind if I ask just a question?
Yeah.
So, these boards are asking for more hours for you, in the planning board and the conservation, so, so it's already there, it's already available to them then? So
What do
the
you mean?
request, so, because you
If-
have 22 with Ellen,
Right.
7 with them, let's just say 7, we'll take ZBA out of it, because they don't really use any
I
hours.
haven't used
But
them.
that would bring it to,
36 hours.
Right, so you have
Right.
4 hours to keep running.
14.
But if we combine
Yeah.
it into a board's department
Yeah.
that was shared by all three,
Mhm.
basically, instead it was the remaining hours to bring you to 40, and then you're dedicated to all three boards, no
Yeah, I
more, no less.
understand. That's what, basically what it is now, it's just,
that's why it might be easier
it's
to
just
join
3
it.
separate
Yeah.
budgets,
Right.
but
It
we
makes
kind of go
sense.
back and forth from one to the other.
Right.
The zoning board is just kind of out there whenever it happens, and
Yeah.
we don't get very much on that.
Right.
It would be beneficial to the boards overall if we just increase the total number of hours without increasing the budget, but
Mhm.
combine them all under one.
Mhm.
But then you're
I
not
just-
giving Ellen her hours.
I'm not gonna hurt Ellen. I wouldn't,
No, Ellen said she wanted 12 more hours, Ellen
Yeah,
said?
she wants more, she
Oh.
needs more
She
help.
wanted 12 more hours, she said, so that's not gonna help this here,
No,
unless you hire
That's-
someone separate.
Right.
That's two,
But
yeah,
Ellen-
it's two separate.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
I thought she wanted 40.
She requested, I'd say, I'll wait for
Okay.
for that discussion. We haven't even really talked about,
okay.
talked
No,
about it yet.
I just wanted you to know that I wasn't working above, the 40-hour week. That's all.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Okay.
coming.
Have a good night.
This is getting a little confusing.
Yeah. So she's kind of balancing it out herself.
Yeah,
but it's not.
right, but you gotta get it right, but I like Andrew's suggestion.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
better off, I
As a
think you're
board.
better off to separate it from Ellen,
Yeah,
especially
Right.
if she wants to
If there's a way
Yeah.
to
to
do
get
that.
somebody else.
yeah,
And Ellen made a good point too, you're gonna get somebody else, we've got planning board here, we'll talk about Ellen
Yeah.
separately.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess, are
But
we
you
all set?
still can't have, even if you put them all together,
What?
if you put them all together,
Mhm.
that's 21 hours
Right.
so far.
But if,
Mary Ann's-
but let's just say she only could work up to, you said what, 24 hours?
Yeah,
It's in there?
so it would
So if
be-
she could max, if she could only max at 21 hours, you could take 3 hours of time out of the budget.
What if we,
Yeah,
she just said she hasn't worked for zoning for 3 years.
yeah,
So give her 18 hours, that position, whoever it may be, a week. That would keep her under the 20 hours, you don't have to pay benefits. Because I think it's gonna come down to hiring another person.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because if Ellen wants that extra 12 hours, she'd probably be way ahead of the game. We'll have to talk to her about it, of
Yeah.
having somebody that's
Yeah.
trained, because you just said she's gotta make decisions
Yeah.
that are by the state and everything else. You wanna, can't be a
Just so she
part-time right
does-
now.
Just so Mary Ann, on paper here,
Mhm.
doesn't show over 40 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what needs to be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
I think we got it.
So we're on a planning board.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. Now who you coming up with, Ted, town clerk, or the council on aging?
Council.
What, Sam, what question?
Excuse me, yes, sir?
Excuse me. Can you, what is the board's recommendation regarding general expenses and planning board consultant? Is this gonna be a reduction of 50 and 20%? Is that what your decision is?
No,
We haven't made any decisions yet. Right now, that's
No.
only my standing recommendation based off of what my early predictions on revenues were. So,
Well, I would like to say something, if I may, because of the town, is that we're spending, let's see, we spent about 30 minutes talking about $500 for conservation. We're spending more time here talking about reductions possibly, et cetera. Now, this department is the planning department. This department is the department where you go forward and think about the future. Now, when I see that you're thinking about reducing people to help you go towards the future, that doesn't seem very logical. And I know we're having budget concerns. Of course, we have budget concerns every year because of the school. They want to rein us in, and we have to be strong enough to say no, but we can't. Well, I'm only a taxpayer here, and I'm probably a small taxpayer. Yet I am a taxpayer, and I think we need to think about planning and searching for growth where we don't have to try to address $500. This is a $10.5 million corporation, a business. We need to be focusing on growth and future, and we can't have the mindset that we want to actually reduce consultants or expenses for an organization that has to search forward to make this company whole again. As far as I'm concerned, it's not whole because we're in another 5% budget for the school issue. So I can go on, but no doubt everybody understands what I'm thinking about. And if you don't, please ask me questions. Thank you.
The Council on Aging? Sure. The Council on Aging, Rich?
Hi Eileen, how are you?
Marvelous, darling, and yourself.
Doing great.
Good.
Nice to see you. How's things going down below?
Wonderful.
Yeah? Liking it?
Yes.
Yeah?
This is our, this is like an attachment to my budget. So, there's a few copies here. You can take a look. Because I know it asked for,
Oh,
what we
nice to
do.
see this back in action. It used to be
Yes. Yes.
back in a while ago, we had one of these, correct?
Yes. So, you had asked for what we do, what we provide, services we do, that kind of thing. So that's what that does, tells you what we do.
And are these gonna be mailed out?
Working on it,
Okay.
working on it. Hopefully, that'll come. I do just want to note that
Yeah.
On my request, I guess I should have put in what the town's portion is. I messed that up, I guess. This is my first time doing this
Well,
kind of formatting.
This is another one of the deals where this is basically the expense for the whole operation.
Mhm, right.
Okay, but there's always lacks the revenue help from the others. They don't appear on this sheet.
Right.
It makes it kind of confusing to deal with that way.
So, actually, my request should have been under salary, should have been the 33072, which was a level fund. So it's just
Okay.
after the 18
Right.
approved budget. So the fiscal year 19 requested should have been the 33072, which was a level fund.
You know, the final one, we added 2%.
Okay.
On
I'm not sure what that
so,
is
yeah.
yet. And then if you note down at the bottom, Hardwick pays, reimburses us because we merged,
Right,
okay? So I was taking part of that and adding it into the salary, because the town does not pay my whole salary. $5,000 comes from formula grant, which is a state
Right.
grant, which we get every year. So 5,000 comes from that, and then I was taking, 3,380 to add to the salary
From Hardwick?
from Hardwick's
Right.
money. So the town is level funded,
yep,
and then adding those two to make what it should have been is the 41,482. That's how I got that figure.
yep.
Okay.
How are things going with the new people coming in? Is that working out okay?
Yes,
It is.
yes, yes.
Good.
A lot of new folks. We're, actually, I was doing the statistics because we were supposed to meet last night between the two boards, both select boards, Hardwick and Barry, but that got postponed. And we've actually increased already, for fiscal year 16-17, we had 99 folks that came in. We're already at 162 folks that have come in this fiscal year.
Now, when you say come in, that's, figures out an average
Those are
weekly,
Bodies.
a day, a week, a month?
That is for the fiscal year. I can give you actually a little bit of breakdown.
So you had 162 people attended, came in within a year.
Yes,
And
since July.
that's different people that you had.
Yes.
So you
it's
feel like
bodies.
you'd have some people who come 5 times a week, but that
Yes.
only counts as one?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
yes. So those are unduplicated.
Right.
is
So
what they are.
basically participants.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. I noticed the nutrition program took quite a cut.
That is a donation. That is not a mandate.
Uh-huh,
So it's a donation to Elder Services.
yep. So I see last year was like 4,040, and
Right.
then this year we're dropping it to 500.
Yes.
You think that's okay, that's good?
Yes.
Okay.
Most COAs don't even pay anything.
Oh, really?
Yes. And when I saw that, it was like, wow, that's a lot. But it is considered a donation.
Oh, nice. Good job.
The other issue's clear.
Electricity expect to go up quite a bit, I see.
Right, I think the past two bills I've gotten have been like $600. Oh, actually over 600. Isn't that what they were, Beck? 600? It's over 600.
Could have been.
National Grid,
Yeah. I mean, I can look it up, but
I think that, yeah, I
I
think that's
think
what
like
they were.
30 accounts, I don't really remember what
Yeah.
yours is.
Anybody have
specifically.
any idea why that's going up so much?
Everybody.
The electricity?
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't think it's gone up substantially. That's this year.
Yep, and I got last year's on there.
I mean, to go up that much,
I think
it's gotta
it was
be
on the
more
site
hours.
page, Jean, I
The
think
building's
you
gotta
had
be
it,
in
but
use.
That's where it should have.
That's a
been.
lot.
The rate's not gone up 50%.
Yeah, see, that's
No.
what they're looking
Yeah,
at.
but it should have combined. This is our account, and that's where I submitted. So it must have been pulled from a different account.
Okay. I don't know about the electricity. I think even if the electricity was higher than what was budgeted for last year, it was obviously just absorbed in this expense.
Yeah.
This is one account. This
Are the
expense account that
hours-
covers all those things.
The hours the building's open, has that changed much since Hardwick people have come?
No, but I've had a lot of requests for, some night events and
Uh-huh.
Saturday events.
Okay.
Other organizations wanting to use the building.
Oh, to me, if the power goes up that much, usually it's hours use of the building goes up.
Right.
So if you have more events at night or Saturdays, I could see the
There are a
electricity
few other
going up. Yeah,
organizations that meet there.
right.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
look into that,
You're,
Eileen.
What's that?
We can look into the electricity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
do
it was
the
just
other
absorbed.
organizations pay for use of the building?
One does a very small donation, because it's only a few people. And the other, not that I'm aware, I've only been there since December, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they contribute other ways. Whether it's hosting a dinner or that type of thing.
Because I'm thinking like the town hall, where people hold things there and they do.
Those private events, or those events for seniors that someone else is just doing for seniors?
Some of them are private.
Some
Well,
of them are
not
private,
so
yes.
much private, but, like, there's, correct me if I'm wrong, there could be, I think there's a women's group.
Yes.
Like an AA group, so it's
Yes.
not so much private, but not a senior center run event on a
Right.
Saturday, in other words.
I was looking more
Private
towards.
events pay $25 an hour.
Pardon?
Oh, they
Minimum
do.
of 3 hours. If you were going, we've had people come in and do private parties or something for funeral memorial service kind of things,
mhm.
anything like that, showers, they pay. $25 an hour. for the
That's what I
minimum
was
of 3
wondering.
hours.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
very different, very separate from what Eileen's talking about.
Do you get many private events?
Recently, I've had a few, yes.
Yeah,
It's a nice, clean place.
yeah. I just wondered how much they're
Yeah.
being used.
Something we'll have to look into. Certainly if they're going because it's a nice facility, it's worth them leasing, then
Yeah.
there should be some sort of fee attached. I was just getting driven if it was something like somebody was running a yoga class for seniors, then
Yeah,
we certainly
yeah.
wouldn't want to be charging a lot if it was geared towards seniors. But if it's someone who just wants to run a reception or something else, then certainly they should pay a reasonable rental.
Yeah, I think it's almost similar to what we rent the town hall for.
Yeah, that's.
What they're saying, $25 an hour, 3-hour minimum is,
Yeah, something,
it's
because there's electricity
reasonable
Yeah,
involved.
to
that
the
makes
town
sense.
hall.
It's gonna heat the building up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another big increase that jumps out, Eileen, is the travel and member meeting travel.
Yes, to different, to stay on top of trends and changing things that are constantly changing and evolving.
So you go to some,
Seminars, conferences.
okay.
There's actually a conference in the fall, it's a 4-day conference, with different senior center directors.
Yep.
So
That's good.
there's some coming up actually.
And dues, I take it you're in some kind of a senior association?
Yes,
or
with MCOA, Massachusetts Councils on Aging.
Yep.
There's a dues that we pay to them.
Mhm. Now, before it was 125, so was that like one person was into that association, or how does that dues work?
It's based on population
Population of the town?
of the senior population.
So it must have went up quite a bit, because it went from 125 to
Right,
500.
which I think I don't think that was right.
Oh.
It was off.
Oh, I see.
Well, that's paid by the grant, isn't it? 500?
Yes, actually it is.
It
Under
is?
the grant column.
If you look at it, money from the grant.
Oh, okay, yep.
So we only pay the 125.
And the grant will pay 774 towards that 1524 on the line item above it.
Yeah.
See, we have some members of the Council on Aging in the back. How's everything going down there with you folks?
Beautiful.
Yeah?
I have a comment to make, please.
Sure.
When we were interviewing, and it appeared in the paper that Eileen was our second choice. She was our second choice because she's so highly qualified that we thought if we got her, she wouldn't stay. Now we've got her, we're not letting her leave.
Good.
That option's off the board, and she has been great. Everything has been so much better with her.
Great.
Good.
Glad to hear
Good
that.
to hear that. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're off the hot seat now, huh?
Eileen, I noticed that the custodial supplies went up 800, from 1,200 to 2,000. Is there a reason for that? And Adam is recommending 1,500. So I just wondered what that was. It's hard to see
one was
the
that,
lines.
Which line?
The custodial supplies.
Which is
And if I,
2,000.
it was 1,200
Oh, I
in
see,
fiscal
okay.
18,
Okay.
went up to 2,000, and now Andrew's recommending 1,500.
It was just more of a, we were
Yeah.
looking for some places to kind of massage the budget a
Yeah.
little bit.
I'm just wondering, is there a
Easy
reason
spot.
why it went, that's quite a bit to go up.
Well, when I kind of looked at everything, supplies, we have 3 bathrooms, cleaning supplies, needing to just like kind of refresh the building. And also the floors need to be done, so I don't know if I could take some of that money out of there because the floors need to be stripped and re-waxed. They haven't been done in like 7 years. So, some of that is in that. But I know they're gonna cost more than what's there, so.
Faye, do we get our custodial supplies like the town, all municipals, so they get it at a lower price?
I mean, we get it at whatever the state bid price is, because we buy through WB Mason, and they're on state
Yeah.
price, so, I mean, we did, this was this year 1 of having the municipal custodian too, so there could be a change in that as well, where she saw an increase in the supplies expenditures.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think that's an unreasonable amount. We spend, I think, more than that here at our building, and
mhm,
I think if she thinks that's a reasonable
yeah.
amount.
I just saw that jump and wondered.
Yeah,
I could see the floors and stuff like that
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
It's gotta get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
The floors
washing
do
the floors
need-
every week,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yep.
twice a week.
Yeah, and I agree that the floors do need to be done
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
well. If there's any way we can do that. Because, we were talking about using, Hardwick funds, but unfortunately, because that money goes right into the general fund unless the budget is adjusted for that, she doesn't have access to that increased
Yeah.
revenue. So, if there's any way that we can use those funds to go into those floors, we'd love to try and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way that their money from Hardwick can go to the senior center?
Only, directly only if there was a revolving account established for its purpose. But I think that the agreement itself was kind of, I guess it was a little rushed. It kind of came in right at the end
Yeah.
of the year. There wasn't enough time to really plan for it, so it ended up just going right into the general fund. There wasn't really enough planning to say, okay, we're gonna dedicate those funds to the senior center and create a revolving account
Mhm.
for it. So, the budget was basically still level funded despite the fact that the agreement was in place.
Mhm.
so it's something that could be looked at in the
Yeah, we
future.
gotta look at
Yeah.
19 and say, how do we now compensate for that?
Yeah, where it's going.
Yeah.
And the agreement actually might have been made post-town meeting,
Yeah,
I think. It was very late.
yeah, it was, I remember.
Yeah,
It was made post-town
it was, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that revolving fund that Andrew's speaking of wouldn't even have been
No,
able to have
no.
been established at that time.
But that might be something to look into.
That's something we're gonna discuss Monday, perhaps.
Yeah, we could talk
We
about
could
that on Monday.
time
Yeah.
Put it on the table and figure it out.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. We did planning, right?
Yeah.
Town clerk. Ellen.
Is that it?
That's
Oh,
it.
there's statutes and
Yeah, that one. Ellen?
You all have copies of the budget, so you can-
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
I think so.
This was mine.
That's fine.
So basically, I think everything is level funded as requested, except for the salary positions and the elections. Elections, we have additional elections this year. We have a September primary, a November general election, and the
Spring.
town election in March
Oh, okay, for next year.
for the
Yeah.
fiscal year. Yeah, so this year, I know it's confusing, this fiscal year, September and November, this calendar year, September and November's
Are in
elections
the
are in this
19.
budget.
You're right.
And the annual town election for
Yeah,
April of 2019.
yeah.
Get the years. So there's 3 elections scheduled for this budget, plus early voting. Andrew, I increased that.
Yes, I have not had a chance to adjust these, so these are still the first number,
Okay,
the first draft numbers.
okay, so I did increase that, the election expense line. My FY19 request is 39,450.
39,450?
Yeah, and Andrew's recommended was 35,950, because that was the
Correct.
initial, but it's my understanding that there's legislation currently right now for early voting for the primary.
What's the
So-
new number, Ellen?
The new number is 39450. I don't know how to print this off bigger.
You can't.
You
It's a
can't?
Google Doc, so it's hard to manipulate.
I don't
Sorry.
like them.
Well, good news, we just bought,
Do you need a
Yeah.
bigger one?
We're going
I have-
back
mine's
to
bigger
my-
than yours.
I have my glasses.
the good news is we're going back to Microsoft, so.
Yes, I
I tell you,
think that's
I
good.
tell you what, this is,
I made them.
I still haven't figured out how to maneuver within them. That's better. How'd you get that?
Oh, tricks. I'll show you.
Thank you. So that's the, so that 39,450 is,
Yeah.
includes September early voting. If the September early voting doesn't pass, which if we find that out before town meeting, I can reduce that number by 3,500.
how did that work out? You did early voting last time, right?
It was
The-
for the federal election. So right now, we have to do the early voting for any state election that has federal offices on the ballot, basically. So every state election, we have to do, actually, it's every state election we have to do it, except primaries. But
How did it work out? Did you get a lot of people that?
we did, well, we had like right around 600, there were around 600 early voters in 2016 for the November 16 election. And I would only anticipate that the more we do early voting, the more early voters we're gonna get, once people get accustomed to it. But it's basically, we're running an election every day, because, and I'm hoping that, by the time November rolls around, the state will also have some other things in place that will help us reduce the time that we have to spend on these ballots, because the way that we had to run early voting in 2016 is people would have to come in and check in. They they would be given an envelope, just as if they were doing an absentee ballot. Fill out an envelope, they would then go to the voting booth, vote, put their envelope in the ballot, then put the sealed envelope into a ballot box, which could, just a box, a ballot box, not, the machine wasn't counting it.
Right, right.
And then we would have to, at the end of the night, after we closed the early voting, at the end of the night, go through every one of those ballots and log them into the computer that the people had voted, so they couldn't come back the next day and vote again.
Okay, right, okay.
So
In a
there's-
check-in, so that you only get
Yeah.
one vote.
And then we had to bundle them up, so we knew how many voted each day, and all the reports and everything else that went along with it. My hope is that they'll change it so that when a person votes, early votes, they can put it right into the ballot box.
Right, right.
And have it automatically,
Yeah.
counted.
Right.
Because then, the other thing is, the day of the actual election, we had to bring all those ballots to the polls for the poll workers to manually go through and
Put 'em in.
feed them through the machines at the polling place, because that's the way it was required to be done. So there was a lot, it was very, very time consuming and labor intensive.
Right.
And not only that, my election workers were burnt out before the election day even got there. I was like,
Oh, boy.
but I'm hoping that all that will change. The other good news that I'm hoping for is that we are gonna be reimbursed.
Yeah, I saw the
Still, I'm
legislature
still hoping.
talking about it.
Yeah, we did surveys, the Massachusetts Town Clerks Association has been working with the Division of Local Services and Mandates to try to, we're still trying to get reimbursed for the,
All that
as a
extra work.
mandate for the early voting.
Right.
So with all luck, we'll get that money back, at least some of it. We're still
Good.
hopeful. And the legislation is there, which is really. So, other than that, I did request the extra position, because I couldn't really increase Mary Ann's hours because of the other boards. And she's already maxed out between all of the other boards. And if, I just don't want to end up in a situation where we're going over, having to pay overtime.
Yeah, and it's not fair to
And-
you that it bounces back to you.
No, and then like, with the planning board has, or conservation, or any of those boards, when they have a really controversial subject that comes up, or a very, like the marijuana, it's
Right.
very time consuming. And, so at times it does infringe on my office, because then, we're fielding all of the planning board calls during those hours, because
Oh.
it's because she's there.
Yeah.
So that takes away sometimes too. So I was trying to work it so that I could not have to increase her hours by getting a second person in the office to help with just, and at a lower rate, just to help with, alleviate with the filing and some of that stuff that can just be clerical in nature, with the filing, the data entry, and stuff like that, and that would hopefully free up.
How would it work, Ellen, if, say, we took the planning board conservation away from Mary Ann and gave her the 12 hours that you want, because you stated earlier that you need somebody in there that really knows the laws and to make decisions. So if you would,
That would be my first, that would be my first choice, to have Mary Ann there full-time in the clerk's office, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what Mary Ann wants. I don't know if that's what, and I also understand that, the planning, zoning, and conservation are very important boards,
right,
and also need somebody there that knows how
Yeah.
to, carry out those functions as well.
well, I was just thinking that if you kept her longer, more hours per week, it would probably be better to your benefit, because she knows more, knows the process, could do more than just a clerk that you have for 12 hours, like you just said, doing the filing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That was just my question to you about that.
yeah.
Basically, we're concerned with money.
And then I was thinking, with if we went with a part-time person, we could get them in at a clerical rate, a lower rate, just for 12 hours a week, it wouldn't, there would be no benefits.
Right,
It would be an unbenefited position that would help fill in, but.
My
again,
suggestion, Ellen,
Mhm.
is get together with the town administrator and the selectmen and present your argument, you know, to those folks. And then that would have to get straightened out, and then we kind of know what money is being spent now between all the positions. See if we can work out a way to everybody's benefit.
Yeah, there would still be an increase no matter.
Well,
How-
yes, but it may be,
Because she's already.
it may be her and somebody else, her for you, and somebody else
For the boards.
for the other boards. That's,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm not gonna get into the,
Yeah.
how it will be done, but I think that's the way to go, so.
That's something we'll discuss.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at with that. Other than that,
At one time, you were telling us about your machines were going bad. What's the status of the machines?
I have the voting machines on the capital plan.
Oh, okay, the new ones.
Yes, yeah, the machines are, and working with Andrew, we bundled everything just together, all of the election stuff together. So there's
Good.
just one line item for the capital plan, and.
Yeah,
the-
right now in the draft capital plan, it's really kind of the only thing that's being noted as, you know, an expense for this year.
Because, I mean, you needed those, right? Or I think
Well-
time was,
Yeah, we're gonna need it.
yeah.
If we pass if it goes on to the budget in June and it gets approved in June, then the soonest we would be able to use those machines, and the actual election would be the town election for 2019. Would be
Gotcha.
our first election.
So you just
using
have those
the
two
new
fall
machines
elections to get through.
To get through with my AccuVotes, and I just had the Automarks, the handicap machines were just serviced this week, and they look good, no issues with those. The AccuVote machines will be serviced just before the September primaries.
Oh, that's good.
And I mean, but they've been, I absolutely love my AccuVote machines. They've been really great. I love the whole makeup of them because they are a paper ballot.
Right.
So when you vote, they go through the machine, even though it's optical scan. If we have a recount, you can always go back and you can kind of determine the intent of the voter, which we've had to do several times and over the years. We've had recounts where we've actually had to go back, and every recount we've had, they've been pretty much right on. So, which is reassuring that the machines are doing their jobs, which is nice.
Good.
So, and then just for an update for the clerk's office, we have the town election coming up April 2nd. Polls will be open from 8 to 8. We have 3 positions that are on the ballot that will be write-ins.
Oh,
The sewer commissioner, we had no candidates for. We had no candidates for the associate planning board member, and we had no candidate for moderator. Mr. Cranston didn't get his papers back before the deadline, but he has informed me that he is going to run a write-in campaign. So he is gonna go as a write-in
Okay.
for the position of moderator.
yep.
And we'll have the 3 questions, marijuana questions that will be placed on the ballot. Today is the last day to withdraw from the ballot, so after today, we should be able to go to the, I have quotes for the vote from there. But that's the status for the election. And dog licenses are due. So if you haven't licensed your dog, make sure you can license your dog.
Either that or sell them.
and return your census form.
Can I ask you a question, Ellen?
Yes,
Do you guys sell hunting licenses,
We-
fishing licenses?
we used to.
Yeah, I know you did. I
Yeah.
didn't know if you
We
still
no
did.
longer do that.
Okay.
When the state decided to do everything electronically,
Yeah,
they ended up doing it, opening it up to like all of the sporting stores, so you can get it at Walmart.
okay.
You can get it
yeah.
at the sporting, any sporting store,
Oh.
or you can just do it yourself online.
Yeah,
So
I was curious.
it was really, and we did a lot of,
Okay,
we
you did.
did a lot of sporting licenses.
Yeah.
But when that came up, and because we spent a lot of time
Yeah.
doing it too,
Yeah,
and the town didn't really get anything for doing it, so it didn't make sense to continue to offer the service. So we opted out.
good to know.
This way we could offer the services, just put a kiosk at the front and say, here, log in.
That could be done.
That's pretty good how they electronically do it, but you have to be careful.
Which zone you get
Because
for
it-
your deer permit?
Well, that, and plus, when you're purchasing licenses, almost all the states do it, like a non-resident license.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not computer savvy,
Yeah.
you can buy 2 licenses for the same year. You spend a lot of money for
You sound like you're
nothing.
talking from experience.
Yeah, I heard that experience, yeah. So all you gotta do is push the button once too many, and
Yeah.
then
Click,
once you
click.
do it, it's over, you own it.
All right, Ellen, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ellen.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you all.
Wachusett Greenways, there's not a budget sheet for that.
What's it?
Wachusett Greenways, there's not a budget sheet.
Yeah, I know, I didn't even know what that is.
That's a special appropriation line.
Oh. Oh,
Okay, hi.
hello.
So,
Hey.
since this is a new entity for you
Yeah.
also, I am Colleen Abrams, and I'm here representing Wachusett Greenways. And I've met Andrew, and I've met Fay, and I can see all your faces, but if I knew your names, that would be lovely.
My name's Rich Jankowskis.
Ted Twarog.
So it's
Ted Twarog.
Ed or Ted?
Ted.
Ted, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Claire Adamitis.
Leaf Erickson. Leaf Erickson.
Okay. Well, that's,
That's my name.
okay. Okay, maybe you're gonna tell me another name
No,
after
no,
that.
that's it, that's
Okay,
it.
thank you, that's a lovely name.
Yeah, thank you, I've heard them
Kathy
all.
Howard? Kathy Howard?
Thank you. So Wachusett Greenways is an all-volunteer nonprofit, and we've been around for a little more than 20 years, close, maybe 23. Founded at the beginning of 1995, and our efforts have been to complete the Mass Central Rail Trail between Barry and Sterling. So this is a 30-mile multi-use trail, primarily non-motorized, although there's a short section that is also for snowmobiles.
Okay.
And so far, we've built 20 miles of the 30 that are intended when it's all completed. So our primary efforts are to maintain and care for this trail, all this 30 miles. And what we're asking is for each town in the kind of the core towns that are involved with the rail trail. Some of the towns, the trail actually runs through, and other of the towns might be just adjacent towns that are part of our region, that we provide maps and trail and open space information, and that also have a good access to the trail. So both are included. The 8 towns include Holden, Paxton, Princeton, Rutland, Sterling, West Boylston, that are all pretty much Wachusett watershed, and then Oakham and Barry in the Ware watershed. Our efforts have been from the beginning to seek grants, to raise funds for the match for the grants for construction. Many of those are state and federal grants, some through the DCR, also the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, but also grants from local foundations from the greater Worcester County area. Also individual funds from private donors and some from businesses and the support of the towns. And what we're asking for from each of those 8 towns is $1,000 for support of operation costs for the trail. And 2 of the towns have been contributing for more than 20 years. They actually did a little more than $1,000. We've pretty much gotten the same amount from them for the whole 20 years. We don't say, well, will you give us this year and this next year? In fact, one town went down a little a few years ago in one of their tight budget years, and they shaved a few dollars off, but they're both still a little more than $1,000. But for the incoming towns, we're asking each one to give $1,000. Our annual operating budget is about $34,000. So for what we're asking from the towns is about 1/4 of our cost. And it covers things like portable restrooms, basic cost of insurance, and just communications and outreach. We don't have any expensive operating costs because we don't have any staff. But we are seeking the support of each of the towns to help enable us to continue to maintain the trail in addition to our work to get new construction or restoration work. Occasionally there've been a couple of big beaver events that have cost us serious money. In West Boylston, it actually closed a section of trail and we had to reconstruct it, and that was $43,000. And again, we cobbled together the money to do it. We've built 10 bridges and 2 tunnels or underpasses. We've done all of our projects as we said we would, on time, on budget. We worked really hard to make a trail that's useful and usable to all these 8 communities. And in terms of the benefit to the town, we think it's just beneficial to all of us who live right here in the region. But our members over the last 25 years have totaled close to 3,000 members, donors. So we're constantly working to increase support. And total for the past year, I think we said 70 towns that our members, donors come from. So it's a pretty big range of people who somehow find this Mass Central Rail Trail and somehow find us and want to help support this.
That goes through Barry, right?
Yes.
On the way to Worcester.
Yes, so the total Mass Central Rail Trail intended is between Northampton and Boston. That's 104 miles.
Okay.
The Norwalk Trail, if you've been out in the Northampton, Amherst area, it goes, so if you go on Route 9 over, let me get this right. Okay,
Goes
Route 9,
over a bridge over there,
you
over
go
the
over
river.
you take the road bridge and you look off, I think if you're going west on Route 9,
Right.
look off to the right, and there's that bridge.
Right.
It was the Mass Central Railroad Bridge that goes over the Connecticut River. That's been recently redone, but that's the western terminus
Okay.
of the trail. And so it goes east from there, back through Amherst, about another 9 or 10 miles. They've just recently expanded it. So that's a state-run piece of the trail. There are other sections that have been developed to our east and that are currently being developed in the Sudbury, Wayland, that whole area. They're developing a very nice 25-mile section there. And then east all the way in Boston, Somerville, there's the Somerville Community Path as part of this. But our section is, we call it the Mass Central Rail Trail.
Yeah.
We haven't given it a separate regional name, but we want it to be one name for our, at least for our section, all the way from Barry to Sterling. The logo that we've developed was actually done by Ed Yaglu, who you might know from your town. And we had a little contest way back at the beginning, and he developed the logo. And it's now being used by others along the whole rail trail. So.
And what is the status with that being extended? Because I was a past member of a board of selectmen in town, and we had talked a couple of years ago about, extending that down through what we call South Barry, Barry Plains section of town.
Yep.
And I remember they had asked for input. How's that coming along?
Hopefully there are other groups who are working to the west. We've kind of, Wachusett Greenways has pretty well taken it to the terminus which is the rest stop on Route 122 that's there in Barry.
Right,
Did
right.
the new bridge over the Ware River.
Yep.
Yep.
And at the moment, our terminus would be that,
Stopping right
because
there.
maintaining those 30 miles is a lot, and I think that's probably where we're at. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't collaborate with other groups working. In fact, we had our first, what we call the Golden Spike Conference, maybe 15 years ago. And we brought people in from across the state and brought in the congressman and said, okay, let's talk about this trail. And we continue to do that occasionally. There's actually a conference planned this summer. That Wachusett Greenways isn't the organizer, but folks out of Northampton are organizing that one, and we'll gather again with everyone. And there are others working, probably East Quabbin Land Trust, most notably to the west, working to continue.
I was just curious of what the status of that was. Thank you.
Yeah. Sounds good. You know, my wife's taking your trip a lot. I don't do bikes.
Well, there's walking for sure. I probably walk it as much or more than I bike it, but bicycling or cross-country skiing is nice.
Yeah.
Snowshoeing.
Don't do that. No brakes on skis.
Pretty much flat.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Anything else that we need from the office for you?
Nope, nope. Right now, we're just under the hearing stage.
Yep.
Okay, so, and if anyone, where this is a new idea for you in the first year that we're asking for your support, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to address them to me directly or through Andrew.
Faye has your number.
Yep, Faye and Andrew both
okay,
do it,
great.
yes, and we very much appreciate your support and questions if you have them.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing else? Anything else?
We have no other departments.
No.
No.
You're on the hot seat, Andrew.
Do I have anything else? Anything else that's come up?
The snow budget, is that?
Oh, yes, I almost forgot about that, thankfully. So as you can see from what our previous authorization was, we're basically at that mark at this point with being at $40,000 expended, or $39,158 expended so far in snow removal. We had authorized up to 40. Right now, total expended is at 151,029. We had authorized it up to 150, so it's already over that. And as you can see, also we have a bill that's pending that's going to be in for this week's warrant for $55,000. So that's going to put us even over 200,000. So my recommendation would be to increase the deficit spending authorization an additional $20,000 on the snow removal overtime and bring the snow removal expenses up to $250,000.
Overtime by 20,000.
Overtime an additional 20,000.
And expenses are how much?
Expenses, increasing it an additional 100,000, so bringing it up to 250,000.
Now, I see on the invoice, we just got 3 loads of, well, I don't know if it's loads or it must be,
Yeah.
of salt.
Yeah, each load's about 15,000.
Yep.
Well, they've used a lot this year, we had so much rain and ice.
Yeah. I was gonna say, not the big hitters, but the ones that are really a nuisance.
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
I have a question for the select board, sitting here tonight. A while back, Andrew had gave us, when we first discussed giving some more money to the snow and ice because they were down. On 2 of the purchases on that were to purchase tires. My question is, tires are general maintenance on the vehicles. I don't think that should be going on snow and ice removal. They have a regular account for that, the maintenance account or the equipment account.
Yeah, I'll have to check into it. I don't have an answer for it right now.
Yeah.
Because the one bill was for $6,773, and then another one for $600.
Okay, I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, I was just curious, because like I said, you know, that's regular maintenance on a vehicle. My understanding of snow and ice was like, you know, snow plows, sander, that kind of, of course, salt and sand.
We'll get back to you on
The old
that,
time.
okay?
Please do, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, on this, I'd make a motion that we increase the snow removal overtime by $20,000 and the snow removal expenses by $100,000.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Aye.
That's all I got.
No, next meeting is when?
Next meeting, 2 weeks?
14th?
14th.
And being that next week I'll have an updated recommendation, town administrator recommendation version to you guys, now that we have an idea of where the school is with theirs, Monty Tech's numbers, the insurance numbers, really the big hitters we have in now, so they're less guesses.
That's the
accurate.
worksheet, Andrew? That worksheet?
Yeah, our worksheets that we go off of where
okay.
it says what my recommendations are, that was all
Yeah.
based off of complete
yeah.
guesses, really.
Yeah.
So now we have a little bit better idea where we stand from where
Yeah.
we've gotten.
Good.
And I'm hoping to also get sharpen the pencil on the revenue side too, and see hopefully those are looking a little better.
Oh, that's good. That sounds good.
Make a motion to adjourn then.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.